Today, I want to get into the inner critic. And I think it's really important that we understand where the inner critic lies. It's always going to be in our logical mind on the left side of our brain. And why that's important is because that's where our logic is, that's where our rationality is and our critical thinking. And those pieces are so important. But we've built a society that makes us stay only in that area of the mind. So creativity gets kind of squashed, our intuition gets squashed, and anything that's sort of in this airy-fairy imagination on the right side of our brain tends to be difficult to leverage and use because society pulls us in our work, in the things that we do, only in our logical mind, which actually puts a cage on us. So we have this inner critic, everybody has it, and it will tell you to do things. Now, sometimes when we're going to get out of our comfort zone, there's things that are going to come up. There's things that are going to tell us, like, don't do that, everyone's going to laugh at you. Or, what is Susie Q going to think from high school? And all these things start to come up about why you shouldn't go do the thing that really you were guided by from either some sort of inspiration, imagination, or your intuition. And so when we let our inner critic win, what we're doing is we're silencing that voice, that real voice, that is the one thing that guides us, that connects us to ourselves, that connects us to spirit, that connects us to source. And we silence it and we make it so that it gets difficult to hear. When we let our inner critic win the conversation, it forces us to play small. It makes us feel frustrated, anxious, depressed, because we're going against our natural inclinations. We're going to override what we feel. So if the inner critic pops in and tells you to do something else, or becomes this sort of like overbearing parent saying, like, you can't stay up late, you can't go do that thing, you can't go pursue your dreams, you have to get to work, you have to do X, Y, and Z, without it being regulated and understanding the balance between the two, because there is benefit in it, but it can't override everything, then we're going to minimize that intuitive guidance, really just the guidance of our natural selves to go and do the things that we want. So when it comes time to really go and do the things that we want to do, we're so used to listening to that inner critic, we're giving it way too much space. And the reason this is so vital and important for me to talk about is because that inner critic, if you let it get out of hand, will convince you to do things that can harm you. It can be something as small as eating a little more, drinking a little more, smoking a little more, doing things that you wouldn't normally do, because what difference does it make? Or it puts you in a place where the rationale is a little skewed. It can go as far as telling you to harm yourself if you dysregulate that inner voice, that not the inner voice, but the inner critic inner voice. So let me break down what the difference is between that inner critic and the ego, because the ego is really healthy and it's a wonderful thing that we have. Again, it's also something that needs to be regulated. So if you're always being driven, and being driven in the sense of you have a vision, you have intention, things are creating meaning, you're creating meaning in your life, that comes from a very sensual yin feminine energy on that really lives on the right side of your brain, that natural intuition. That's like the chief officer of your life. And when you have that intention, that vision, that spark, where you want to go, then the ego is the driver of the vehicle to take you there. It's the force, it's the fuel to be headstrong, to be stubborn, to, if you need to put your nose down to the grindstone, to go get the thing that you want to go get, to be that masculine force and balance out the two. It's necessary to have, and it also breeds conviction. It breeds the sense of, it can be kind of righteousness, but it breeds this sense of you have something to go say and something to go do, and you're going to go do it. When you don't have intention, when you don't have purpose, when you don't have something behind you, the ego is looking for something to control. The ego wants to have a part and a role to play in your life. And if you don't give it something, right, because you want to stay at this elevated place of being the CEO, being the director of your life, and seeing everything through like a bird's eye view. So you're understanding your emotions, you're understanding your thoughts, you're understanding situations. You're in the observer mode, which is at this higher level. And then you get to decide, how do I respond emotionally? What are the thoughts that I want mentally to move through? What are the stories I want to tell myself? And then you can let the ego drive where that's going to go. Same thing with the inner critic. The inner critic is going to constantly want to tell you to do things or say things to you to pull you back. I don't know why we're designed like this, but we are, to pull you back, to pull us back into our comfort zone so we can stay safe. We've built an entire society of conveniences. So we've made it even more impossible to get out of those inconveniences or to get out of that, to get out of the convenience. It is inconvenient. We've made a life where sitting on the couch watching Netflix and you can get your phone, which is like the new remote, and order anything that you want to come delivered to you. And we're kind of in a place in society now, in a time in history where it's literally anything you want. You don't have to go out in the world and go savagely get the things that you want. It comes naturally to you. It comes easily to you as long as you have the exchange for it. So why would you want to get out? Why would you want to get up? Why would you want to change your clothes? Why would you want to do anything? And you just sort of become, you can decide what that looks like for you, but the goal is that we create. The goal is that we are always in that creator mode. You always hear of like main character mode. Well, the main character creates. The main character takes ideas and they build them. They build their dreams. They build the things that they want. Every ancestor we ever had did that, had the capability to do that. We've lost a lot of those skills. And so the inner critic has kind of been masked with this layer of building systems, being productive, doing all of these very task-oriented, box-oriented things. And we really kind of squash not only intuition, but innovation. And we can make it so that we're so fearful of just stepping outside of anything that we don't want to. And I think that's going to be a really hard pill to swallow as we keep moving forward in society, because the ones that do actually say something, they're screaming out kind of some random nonsense. Or it's the loudest, squeakiest wheel saying whatever that they want. Or the people that have real ideas, really good thoughts, actually want to do something in the world are afraid to, because they're afraid of the criticism, they're afraid of what's going to happen, they're afraid of what's going to be said about them, because they haven't had a sense of experience making sure that they can handle that, because it takes a lot. It takes a lot to say something, put it out online, and then see where it goes and what happens with it. So you have an inner critic. How do you tame your inner critic? You're going to notice after a while, if you pay attention and stay in observer mode, that there's going to be some pretty basic things that are going to run, basic lines. Like it's going to be a record that gets played over and over again. It's the same stuff. You've heard it before. It shouldn't be anything new. And the tricky part about the inner critic is that it's going to pull out some receipts. It's going to say, remember that time in high school? Remember that time in grade school you did that thing? Remember that time? Remember that time? And it's going to give you a list of all the ways in which you messed up. And it's going to tell you, this is what's going to happen again. You know better. You're going to sit back and you're going to observe these thoughts, and you're going to have a conversation. And the conversation gets a lot easier, a lot quicker, a lot faster over time. But the conversation is going to have you draw a line that says, what happened in the past is the past. Those were mistakes. Those were learning lessons that I got to pull from. So I don't need to make those mistakes anymore. And if so-and-so does say something, I'm more equipped to handle it. In fact, it's not even going to bother me because I also know how to regulate my emotions. And so over time, that inner critic voice is going to get smaller and smaller because it has no weight to it, because those receipts no longer mean anything. They're just pieces of paper that need to be thrown in the trash because you're going to set out to do new things. And you can get that inner critic so quiet that it's just like a little fly buzzing around, because you have a vision, you have goals, you have intentions, there's meaning and purpose in your life, whatever that is that you have decided to go do, and your eyes on the prize to go just build the things that you have in your mind to get them done. Because it's your life, because it's something that you value, and that's all that matters. Because it's for you, because you're the main character playing this game called life. So don't let your inner critic override the visions that you have, because the visions that you have were given to you by a higher force, by a natural force, by a supernatural force, by the divine force, because you are made up, as we all are made up, of the moon and the stars and the planets and the sky. You are no different than anybody else. You are no different than anything else moving around. And we are all just energy moving back and forth in different shapes and different modalities and different forms, so that we can breed different layers of consciousness to experience. So if we're not creating those experiences, we're not being able to express the consciousness of the divine in which you are. So your intuition is innate. It's an innate energy that comes from a higher source of consciousness. When you get images, impressions, visions, visualizations, inspirations, whatever that is that comes into your mind's eye to go build something, it's really important that you do that. And I believe the reason, could be one of the reasons that we have that inner critic, is because it's something so great that it tends to, it means so much to us that it puts us at a risk of causing some sort of pain, some sort of heartache if it doesn't go in some perceived expectation, which expectations would be another topic for another day. So as you're moving through these inspired ideas, as you're moving through, and doubt will come in, it just will. It never goes away. It's all in how you handle it. It's just because it means something to you. It's so that it can keep you safe. It being this other element of you, so that you don't have to go through any heartache. But that is life. That's how we live. That's how we know we're alive. We get to move through all the range of emotions that help us. So when that inner critic comes in, have a dialogue with it. Over time, you're going to understand and you're going to know all of the lines, all of the phrases, all of the stories it's going to tell you. And you have two choices to make. One is that you keep playing those same things over and over again, or two, you rewrite the stories that you are told in your head. So as soon as a thought of doubt comes in, which it will, you can't control that. It's just not possible. Don't try. It doesn't look good. When the second thought starts to come in and it repeats itself, that's when you pause and you decide, do I want to keep that thought? Or do I want to change it into something else? Because I'm the creator. You're the creator. So create a story that serves you. Create something where your belief system aligns with you get to win at the end. You get to triumph at the end. You get to win. You get to create the thing that you want to create. And you realize the only thing holding you back ever is just those voices in your head. And you just decide which ones you want to listen to. I have a program coming out, link it in the description below if you want to check it out. I hope to see you in the next video, and keep creating, my friends. Keep creating. Make the world the place you want to live in, not somebody else's. Until next time, take care. Bye.